What have we been looking at lately? Good. Y'all been paying attention. Get a gold star. So this is our third week in the Ten Commandments. It'll be our last week in the Ten Commandments. And I thought I'd start with a pop quiz, right? All right. One question will be kind of easy. Okay, it'll be kind of easy, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. So God brought Israel to the mountain here. He has provided for them. He has protected them. And now He's giving them His law. So what is the point that we have emphasized about the Ten Commandments? God has given these commandments because He wants His people to have and maintain a what?
Relationship.
You're on it. Great. Maybe if all of you sat on the front row. That would be really awkward. That's all right.
First 4, how will make God, the other 6 are how will make
He just has, okay, teacher's pet, that's good. So here at Life Connection, we talk as a church about connect, grow, and serve. Haven't mentioned that in a little while, but it's a cycle. It starts with connecting. We connect to God. Connecting to God, we see God. We have a relationship with Him. It leads us to grow, and we learn about Him, who He is, and what that affects our lives. And because of that, as we grow, we move into service. And we generally start out with serving God because He is the object of our connection, of our relationship. And it leads us back into connection because as we're connected with God and we're starting to serve Him, and we come back around, we realize as we grow in God, He means for us to connect with each other. And we go back around and we learn He means us to connect with everybody and to serve. And so these 10 Commandments is God taking the initiative here with the nation of Israel to connect with His people. And we're going to see over the weeks ahead, probably starting with the new year, that this leads to growth. It's not always easy. It's not always without growing pains. But the connection God is establishing here with His people is going to cause them to grow in a lot of ways. But at the heart of all of this, the heart of these 10 Commandments, and everything that's going to happen with the children of Israel over the next 40 years, is a central truth. It's the truth that God knows the best thing that He can give to His people is Himself. That relationship. He gets it. We don't get it. They didn't get it. They want comfort. They want good food. They want to not be wandering around in the desert. They want all sorts of things that they think are more important than God. Just like we do. But God knows that teaching them that the best He can give is Himself is at the core of what He is trying to do. So these 10 Commandments are a beginning of that, of how to have and maintain a relationship with Him. We are on the last 2. Yeah, all right. Exodus chapter 20, verses 16 and 17. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or their male and female servant, or their ox, or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So we're talking about lying and coveting. At least that's how we like to summarize those two. But we're going to dig in and we're going to take a closer look at these last 2 commandments. Commandment number 9. It's not, don't lie. It really isn't. We like to boil it down and help our kids learn that. We'll talk about that. But it's more specific than just don't lie. It's do not give a false witness. Do not give false testimony. Do not lie in such a way that it will cause harm to another person. Do not lie in court. Do not lie by gossiping over the fence. Do not use your words to attack another person's character. That's what this is getting to. In the legal sense, you've got the courtroom, and the commandment literally is don't perjure yourself. Do not lie as a witness in court. Outside of the courthouse, the commandment is don't slander. Same word in two different contexts. Don't tell, don't spread lies about people. Now, that's not a pass on all the types of lying. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Sorry, guys. We get from the fullness of Scripture that lying is against who God is. But this particular commandment is focused on perjury and slander because they are two especially destructive, relationship-breaking, cultural bond-breaking types of lies. Telling your grandmother that her dinner was great, even though it tasted like cardboard, probably isn't in the same category as this, and it's not going to destroy somebody's life. There will be consequences every time you come. She may think it's your favorite and make it for you, but that's your own fault. This is talking about perjury and slander and how these can destroy a person's life. Deuteronomy 19:16-20 explains this a bit more. If you don't know, Deuteronomy means second law. And basically, it's there at the end, as Moses has been walking through the desert with them for 40 years. And he's like, okay, here's what God did. Let me explain to you, because I've seen in 40 years that you guys are dumb as goats, and I want you to get what God meant. Okay, so second law, he's explaining what it means. He's explaining this commandment. If a malicious witness rises up against a man to accuse him of wrongdoing, this is a specific instance where there's one so-called witness. Because just before this, it's talking about if you're going to go and take someone to court, you have to have at least two witnesses that agree. So you have one witness against another person, then both of these people who have a dispute shall stand before the Lord. So they're going before the tabernacle. They'll stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges in office of those days. And the judges shall investigate thoroughly. And if the witness is a false witness, and he has accused his brother falsely, then you shall do to him, the false witness, just as he intended to do to his brother. So the consequence of being this false witness, of trying to use the system against your brother, your neighbor, is you suffer the consequences that you were trying to have that neighbor suffer. Thus it says, you will purge evil from among you, and the rest will hear and be afraid, and never again do such an evil thing among you. This is pretty serious. We're talking about deliberate misuse of the judicial system to cause harm to another person. And that will destroy your horizontal relationships between other people, and it will have a direct impact on your vertical relationship with God. Because when you have hurt your brother, intentionally causing him harm for my gain, we're both God's children. And you don't go to Dad and say, hey, Dad, I want something from you. I want you to bless me. And he's like, I just saw what you did to my other kid. I don't know about you and the families you grew up in. I know in my family, if sibling A does something to sibling B, it's not going to go well for them. Nobody else messes with my kids but me, right? That's right. All right. Very serious, but also, if we're going to be honest, I don't think this is something most of us really have to deal with. I mean, how many of y'all have taken somebody to court? Just out of curiosity. Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. I haven't either. But what about slander? What about what's called malicious gossip? You know, where you're not taking them to court, you're just telling everybody else something about them with the intent of tearing them down. It's no less serious. It is bad enough when we're spreading secondhand rumors about people, things that put that person in a negative light and hurt their witness, their character in the community. But But there is just something grievously wrong with how much as people we enjoy a good juicy rumor. How we accept and are willing to spread the worst about a person even if we don't know it's true or not. And the Bible rightfully condemns that. But those false stories have to start somewhere. Somebody had to create the idea in their mind and share it in the first place. And that is what the commandment here is speaking about. Not just gossip, but creating gossip. Slandering somebody, intentionally lying about someone with the intent to assassinate their character. You know, as I dug into this commandment, I was really overwhelmed with the fact that we have largely tossed this one out. I don't know if you realize this. I mean, maybe not you and me or the person next door, but as a culture, you can think about everything that's the news. Think about our entire political leadership. And I'm not picking sides here. I'm pointing at everybody because they all use lies and liars to attack each other all the time. And we as a people have let that happen. You really don't see people held accountable for fabricated stories used to tear somebody down. That's just politics as usual. And as a result, look at how it has divided our nation and how it tears us apart. How it is killing that unity that is meant to unite us as a people. That is what this command is getting to. False witness kills relationships. Maybe you aren't giving a false witness. Maybe you're not slandering somebody. But we live in a society where it's rampant and it matters. But how about how we actually do? We simplify that for our kids when we say, don't lie. Is that a fair summary of this commandment? Well, yeah. I mean, in the sense that we're trying to boil it down for someone to understand. Is it really true? Absolutely. The Bible is clear and consistent on the topic of truth and lies. God is truth. In Him there is no lie, there is no untruth. By contrast, Jesus tells us in John 8:44 that Satan is the father of lies. In fact, he says, Satan does not stand in the truth because there's no truth in him. I love how this verse reads. Whenever he speaks a lie, Satan speaks a lie, he's speaking his native language. For he is a liar and the father of lies. And on the other side, the positive side, Paul in Ephesians 4 tells us to stop lying to each other. And instead to speak truth with your neighbor. And who's our neighbor? Everybody. Good. And he says, speak the truth with your neighbor because we are all members. We are all part of one another. So yes, I believe it is not an inappropriate thing to teach our children that it is wrong to lie. But I also think as adults, as people growing in Christ, we must go deeper than just the same simple that we try to teach to our children. It's not enough to say, don't lie, and leave it at that. We must understand that lies can be used as weapons. And we are commanded not to do that. And to not stand around while others do that either. Do not commit perjury or slander. Commandment number 10. Anyone know what it is? Well, it's probably behind me, isn't it?
Nope.
No, it isn't. Good job. Yay. Okay, you've lost teacher pet status. He's like got 3 up on you. Just saying. Do not covet. I find it really interesting that we will take, do not bear false witness, and boil it down to don't lie. But we take do not covet and we leave it just like that. And covet is really a word we use a lot, isn't it? No! Honestly, I try to avoid big churchy words because they're a language that are unique to us who have followed Christ and are digging into Him. And if I have to use something like, sanctification, I'm going to try to explain it. But here we come, and we come to covet, and we throw that word out there like everybody knows what we're talking about. But I really don't think we do. I mean, if I were to ask you, and I'm going to be nice, I'm not in this case, but if I asked you what covet means, I imagine I'm going to get things like want or desire or maybe even lust for. But even then, we're kind of uncertain about what this commandment really means. And let's be honest, if you're not sure about it, how are you going to know if you're breaking it? How are you going to know if you've gotten close to breaking it? See, it's a problem in general in the English language. I was looking and digging, and we really do not have another word that carries the same weight in English as covet does. So instead of one word, we throw whole definitions at it, trying to explain what it means. I'm going to give you 3 that I looked up, starting with good old Webster, right? Webster defined coveting as to wish for earnestly. That is a horrible definition. I could earnestly wish for Jesus to return. Am I coveting that? No. No, coveting is a sin. It is a negative thing. Okay, so I'm like, man, Webster, I got to keep going on. So another one. Coveting means to desire wrongly. That's an awkward sentence. To desire wrongly and specifically in regard to another person's property. Okay, that's a little bit closer. It's dealing with the fact that it's directed at what belongs to someone else. A last one. To long for and to try to get something that belongs to someone else. Now, those all kind of wrap the pieces together. It is a strong, it is an earnest desire for something. It is a wrong desire for something that belongs to somebody else. But it's not just the desire for what someone else has. It's the desire and the intent to get it from them. That's what covet means. Maybe some examples would help us. Look, God gave us some. Do not covet your neighbor's house. Okay, we can follow that. My neighbor has a better house than me. They must be the Joneses. So I want their house, right? Am I coveting? No. Just because I want what they have, that's not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that is not a sin. You're not coveting yet. It's an issue, but it's not yet coveting. It becomes coveting when I say, I want their house, and I'm going to find a way to make it happen. Another example. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. Okay, maybe she's hot. But it doesn't just have to be physical. Okay? We need to get past this. Maybe she's an awesome cook. I tell you, at men's small group on Tuesday night, we know we have some awesome cooks in here. And I'm not going to name names, but there are sometimes people are like, oh, who's cooking tonight? I'm there. Maybe you are coveting a wife who can cook really well. Maybe someone else's wife is great with kids. Or they're just really good at uplifting and encouraging. Whatever it is, you say, I want her, and I'm going to get her. So maybe my plan is I'm going to give some false witness to her husband, or to other people to get back to her husband, make up some story so he will divorce her. Or maybe I'm just going to go off and murder her. And if I get away with it, I'll comfort the widow until she decides to be my spouse. You see the difference? It is the desire with the plan. That's coveting. Next one, we're going to roll all these examples together. Do not covet your neighbor's male or female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. You can just sum it up there. Don't covet anything of your neighbors. It's the same idea. Again, who's your neighbor? So anything anybody else owns, you don't get to covet. If they have something you really, really want, yeah, it's not yours. But when you want it and you start making plans on how to get it, how to make it yours, that is coveting. When you desire so much that you are going to try to get what you want. Now, on the positive side of this, guys, this is a desire that is so strong, so overwhelming, you are not going to accidentally covet. This is not a sin you're going to stumble into. Your neighbor may fly past your house in a really cool, slick car, and you're like, man, I'd like to have that. That's not coveting. It's when you look every day as he goes by, and you're like, I'm going to get that car. You're not accidentally breaking this commandment in a moment of longing. You have to knowingly choose to covet. Coveting is specific, it is focused, it is deliberate. You want, and so you start planning on how to obtain. Now here's the downside. If the plus side is you're not going to accidentally covet, the downside is you don't actually have to follow through with the plan. You just have to be making a plan. Once you have moved from longing and wanting into planning on how to make this happen, you have moved into coveting. Can you see how that breaks relationships? All of a sudden, my relationship with you has been usurped by my desire for something you have, or someone you have. Suddenly, that thing or that person is more important to me than you are, and if that's the case, it's more important to me than God is. Coveting breaks relationships because it elevates something or someone to the highest place in your heart and mind, and it consumes you. You're not going to accidentally walk into coveting. No, we choose to head full force into it. 10 Commandments. God sent them down the mountain with Moses twice, we're going to find out. Yeah, they're rules. They're commands. They reveal our inadequacy to live up to God's standard. But ultimately, they're about how to have a relationship with God. Yes, New Testament believers, we have a fuller explanation of that. We understand we first need Jesus. We need the salvation that He made possible on the cross for our sin. We need His Spirit alive within us because we can't keep these commandments. We can't walk the line of the law, but with His indwelling Spirit, we at least want to, and the power is available for us to try to serve and follow Him. And then these commandments, in that light, show us how to come near and remain in the presence of God. We understand, yeah, we are supposed to honor our father and mother. They're not perfect. They never were. But God gave them to you and you to them. And they, for good or bad, are that first concept, that first picture of who God is. The picture we all have to grow past one way or another. Don't murder. Don't murder because that person is also a child of God, made in His image. The Father gave His Son as a ransom for that other person. You don't get to murder them. Don't commit adultery. That couple are a living picture of God's relationship with His church, the bride of Christ. And that sexual union is a symbol of their unity. Don't defile what God made exclusive for holy joy. Don't steal. It's says God's goodness, His provision is inadequate. It either shows a lack of faith in God to provide or an abundance of self because you're going to go get. Don't perjure, don't slander. Words have power. God created everything by speaking it into existence. Don't use your words to create lies that will hurt your neighbor. Don't covet. Put simply, anything you covet is your consuming God. Which takes us back to the first commandment, right? Have no other gods. We have one God. We have Yahweh. We can even say His name now, which for thousands of years they wouldn't. We have one God, Yahweh. He is good. He is faithful. He is true. He loves us. He gave His Son for us. He is truth. He is spirit. He is creator. He sets us free from the false idols and gods made in our image. Instead, He makes us like Him. In Jesus, He makes us new. He makes us afresh like Himself. In Jesus, He places His name on us. He calls us His own. We are now in Christ, heirs to everything with Jesus. He is our brother and our Lord, and we are told we will reign over creation with Him. So God speaks His name over us, and He makes us His. Don't take that in vain. And He calls us to rest. He calls us to rest and to enjoy Him, to seek His face, to walk with Him in the garden, not for His sake, but for ours. He desires us to have this relationship with Him, this holy, loving, joyful relationship with the God who made us. Personal, as a father to a son, to a daughter. And that relationship is what God desires for you because He knows it is the best thing you can have. He desires it from you. Because believe it or not, the best thing you can give God in return is yourself. He made you to enjoy you because who you are delights His soul. And all we have to do is accept that and move toward Him. And we will find that He was already here, already waiting with arms open wide for His children to run to Him, to live in that relationship, and to know forever the joy